Hi, kindergartners. Mrs. Wolcott here, and I am so excited. Today I am going to read to you a story called Sea Anemones, Oceans Alive by Martha Rustad. So we've studied the soft mollusks, the clams, the snails, and then we studied the hard-skinned echinoderms, the sand dollars, and the sea stars. And today we're going to learn about beach animals with stinging tentacles. Now, the animal we're going to be learning about, the sea anemones, do not actually hurt humans. The sea anemone's sting is only strong enough to kill plankton and small fish. So it's okay to gently touch a sea anemone when you go to the beach. Let's learn some more. Today's story has a table of contents. We have what are sea anemones on page 4. Where do sea anemones live on 8. Sea anemone tentacles. That sounds interesting, on 13. And sea anemones and clownfish on page 19. A glossary and a place to learn more and an index. Sea anemones are colorful ocean animals with long tentacles. They have a soft body shaped like a tube. Sea anemones come in many sizes. Some are the size of your fingertip, and some are bigger than a person. Sea anemones live on the ocean floor and on beaches. They live on rock or coral. Sea anemones grip tightly onto the rock or coral. And when you go to the beach, you'll see them. They are stuck to the rock. And like this one in the picture here, right here, sometimes when a sea anemone is disturbed or touched, the tentacles will curl up inside, and you'll see something that looks like a donut, a wet donut. If it's hanging upside down from the rock, it might look like jelly or jello hanging down. Some sea anemones live in tide pools. Water goes in and out of tide pools each day. Sea anemones pull in their tentacles when the water goes out. Their bodies stay wet inside. And you can see the beautiful blue and green tentacles here. Much like the anemones that you will find at our local beaches. And here in the picture, you can also see the ochre sea stars. Oh, and right there are the anemones inside of their tube. These are not in the water, so they're trying to stay wet by bringing the tentacles inside. These down below here, these are inside of the tide pool, and they are wet. Some big fish try to eat sea anemones. Sea anemones can sting fish with their tentacles. The tentacles hold poison. The poison is in bulbs on the end of the tentacles. Not all sea anemone tentacles look the same. Some tentacles are long and thin. Some tentacles are short and thick. Sea anemones sting small fish for food. Their tentacles push the food into their mouths. Their mouth is at the top of their body. So here are the tentacles, and in the center is the mouth. Not all fish can be stung by sea anemones. And here is the clownfish. Clownfish are protected from stings by slime on their bodies. Sea anemones protect clownfish from other fish. Remember the story Finding Nemo? Yeah, and Nemo was a clownfish. That's why he could live inside of the sea anemone and be safe. Well, thank you very much, kindergartners, for listening to our story today. Now we're going to draw a sea anemone. So would you please take out a piece of paper and your pen. All right, so now we're going to draw a sea anemone, one of these amazing creatures for our At the Beach book. So let's start with our sentence. I can see a sea anemone. All right. And then can see a sea, and remember this is not the kind that we can see with our eyes. This is the ocean sea. Anemone. Anemone. I can see a sea anemone. All right, so in our story, we learned that a sea anemone is like a tube. So you can think about it as like a tube for your toilet paper. And then inside of the tube, it has these tentacles that can come out to gather food, whether it's teeny tiny plankton in the water or small fish that come along, and the tentacles with the stingers can touch that food, and as soon as the tentacles touch the fish or touch the plankton, then they bring it inside into the tube, which is where its mouth is, right in there. And then it eats it, and the food helps it to grow. Okay, so let's draw our sea anemone. Okay, so we need, I'm going to put my sea anemone in a tide pool. So let's see, here's the sand, and then I'm going to put a little, kind of a little bowl shape where the sand goes down to collect water. All right, so there's water in there, and then I'm going to put a sea anemone coming out of the floor here like a tube. All right, so it's kind of like a tube, and there we go. And then coming out of the tube, I'm going to be putting these tentacles. I'm drawing with black today, but when I color my sea anemone, I want it to look like the anemones that we have on our Puget Sound beaches. So I'm going to be adding green here to the tube and to the tentacles. Greens, light purples, sometimes you'll see pinks, light pink colors in the sea anemones that we have at our beaches. And then, of course, you could also put a little fish in the water if you want for him to eat. All right, well, thank you very much, kindergartners, and I'm looking forward to studying the next animal with stingers that's not so safe.